welcome back to another episode of the GPS Podcast. Grow your passion into success. Where?
Where we take you on the road to success.
We're going to take them on the road? We Uber now, y'all. We're taking them on the road?
We got to give them a lift.
We're going to give them a lift. Okay.
Get it? We're going to give them a lift.
All right, y'all. We like maybe 10, 12 episodes in. We're going to get it right one of these times. Not this time, but one of these times. We'll figure it out.
I got it right at the end of the last one.
Did you?
Remember?
I don't remember. We probably cut that out. It got edited out of the footage, y'all.
Wow, the one time I got it right.
Yeah, we didn't keep that. But anyway, y'all, we have a dope episode for you today. We have some very special guests here today. And why very special guests? Because these people are super amazing, super awesome. Let me tell you something. First of all, you don't even make it to our show unless you're doing dope things, and you got to have like a dope resume. So with no further ado, I'm going to ask our guests to introduce themselves and just give you a little bit quickly about who they are and why they're here.
All right. Well, good afternoon. My name is Francisco. This is my wife, Nikki. And so we were invited to spend time with you guys this afternoon.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
What do y'all do?
All right. So I'm a financial advisor, marketing professional.
He said it like I'm just a marketing.
Like it's light. Like you run into those every day. You know what I'm saying?
You're too humble for me right now. You need to tell the people who you are. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not just a financial advisor, brother. Like,
I'm just a money guy. I'm just a money guy.
We got the money guy on the show, y'all. Now y'all starting to understand the picture. What's going on here? And who's this beautiful young lady next to you?
Oh, that's so sweet.
My dear wife of 24 years.
24
We've been together
years.
for 28, though.
28.
like y'all when I grow up.
Man.
Wow. we got it. Okay, you know what? I put this in like 3 episodes. I got to say it again. All right, so this is my thing. This is like what I'm going to be known for now. So Napoleon Hill said, right, that the husband-wife mastermind is the strongest mastermind alliance that you can have, and that a husband-wife mastermind can accomplish more together in 1 year than you could accomplish apart 7 years. So 28 years and 24 years married, that means y'all are...
I mean, they've accomplished 4 times as much as
the average person.
But we're only halfway there, though. 24 years is not a long time for people that have been married 50 years.
True.
So we're still middle-aged married people.
Well, I mean, we just so have happened to have had the privilege to raise 3 kids.
Okay.
27, a 25, and a 23-year-old. So, and then managed to kind of get through a number of things over the years. Because at the end of the day, marriage is not without its bumps in the road, right? So it takes a lot. Too many times people think just going to work is the easy thing. No, marriage is the thing you got to put the work into.
Absolutely.
So,
You get wisdom off the top of the show, y'all. You said something that was interesting. Some of our viewers may not have a clue what a financial advisor actually is.
yeah.
So could you kind of just talk about what that even is for those who don't even know?
Well, let's break it down this way. I think too many times people get, they take the word financial and advisor and they say, oh, that's too much for me off the top. You know, and number 2, they think, well, I don't have enough money to sit with that person anyway.
Wow.
So why am I even considering or even thinking about listening to a guy like a financial advisor? But what a financial advisor does, a good one will take some time to get to know you, what your goals are, what your concerns are, and then subsequently take the time to educate you when it comes to how money actually works. And so that's what we do within our practice is we spend time with all of our clients talking about how money works. And especially when we know what your goals and objectives are, it makes it a world of easy to help you to get to where you want to go.
Okay. So I got a follow-up question. So for the person watching that says, well, I know how money works. I go to the store, I spend $1, right? And then I get $1 worth of whatever costs $1. Could you give them some more meat as to what do you mean when you say how money works?
All right. So let's take the last 8 months as a for instance. The dollar has changed. What do I mean when I say that? Inflation, right? So what costed $1 is now costing you $1.10.
Right.
Right? So it's costing you more. Ironically, Nikki and I were talking earlier today. She was talking about, you know how much I paid for this dozen of eggs? Actually, it was 18 counts.
$5.
There you go, right?
Yes, I know how much you paid.
It was an 18 count.
$5.
And you know, we were talking about that, and I said, you know, the crazy thing is, you look at that dozen or that 18 count. I went and bought one 2 weeks ago, and I'm like, oh, it's $5, no big deal, right? But when you put it in the context of everyday people that's working, that $5 means a lot.
Absolutely.
Because it was $2 for 18, you know, and then it goes up 3. That means you got $3 less to spend somewhere else where it also counts. Or you got 1 less 18 dozen or 18 count that you're going to get that week for that family. You know, so that dollar right now, how can you stretch it? It's almost, it's just extremely difficult to stretch a dollar. So really, rather than stretching, the question is, how do you make another dollar to go with that dollar? And that's the question that people have to ask right now. Instead of saying, let me stretch it, you can only stretch it so far. I mean, too many people are living far below their living standards. And how much further can you stretch? You can't just go turning off the lights. You can't go turning off the heat. You got to be warm, right?
Absolutely.
So stretching a dollar is very difficult. So you have to figure out another way to make another dollar and then multiply that.
That's so profound, brother, because in our community, we grow up learning how to stretch a dollar.
That's all we learn.
But nobody ever comes to us in our communities or in our households and just teach us, why are you trying to stretch a dollar? Just go make another one. Like,
That's
you know, because you're going to work hard either way. You're going to work at either stretching that dollar, or you can put in the time and the energy to make 3, 4 more of those dollars, or 8 or 10 of them, and now $5 for some eggs. Yeah, I don't like paying $5 for some eggs,
but you can afford it.
I can afford it. I'm not like tripping over $5 for some eggs.
Right.
Man, that's so profound. Like, let's stop stretching dollars in our community. Let's just go make more of them.
That's it.
And you know, on top of that, Keshonda, you mentioned what we learned growing up in our community. Henry, you're saying people want to know, I know how money works. I know how to spend a dollar. But what we don't get is that people in the financial space, like Francisco, that's what they do every day, like a mechanic. A mechanic learns how to fix your car. An accountant knows how to look for credits on your taxes, or they work with money. A lawyer knows how to defend you. Why would you not trust a professional whose job it is to work with money to help lead you make better decisions financially?
That is an amazing
And that's just not something we're taught in our community. Growing up, we're taught, I'm not only going to stretch this dollar, but I'm going to keep to myself the struggles that I'm going through financially. And I'm just going to grin and bear it, and I'll figure it out. I'll work 2 jobs. I'll work 3 jobs, but I'm not going to ask for help.
Absolutely.
Right.
That's a key point.
So
that's
the thing about financial advisors, and you know.
And then it actually takes a step into a whole nother direction, which ties to that. You know, you work one job and then you say, I'll take on another job. Well, as kids, that's what we saw our parents do. Take on multiple jobs as a way to create or get more money. But really, how many hours in the day do we all have? 24, right? And so how many hours can we actually work, right? Before we go crazy.
Absolutely.
Right? So the question becomes, well, if the job is not the solution, well, people think, well, go get more education as a solution. But then you end up compounding your issue with additional debt.
Absolutely.
And oftentimes people will go and get another degree, add an MBA. So now you got that MBA. How much more does that truly add to your net income or your overall net worth? And what most people don't realize is that it might add another $15,000 or $20,000 or $30,000 to your income. But what did it cost you?
Absolutely.
The cost or the price of something versus the value of it.
That's right.
We just talked about
I mean,
that.
so no matter what school you go to, Ivy League or local state college, and you get this MBA, gosh, it could cost you $50,000, $60,000, $70,000. Can you go ahead and stroke the check for that today? Most people cannot. And that's a problem. So that goes back to what we've learned. Go to school, get a good education to get a good job. Whoa, hold on a second. Isn't there another way?
Right.
The other way is, have you ever read the book Cash Flow Quadrant
Right.
by
right,
Robert
right.
Kiyosaki, right? You break down the quadrants, talks about being employed as an employee, and then you got the next one, the next box below, self-employed.
Mhm.
Go get your own job, go create your own job, kill something so you can eat. You don't kill nothing, sorry, your family not gonna eat that night,
Right.
right? Little Johnny trying to get some shoes, he ain't gonna get no shoes. His shoes gonna be talking for a while. Y'all have all seen it.
Right.
I done had them.
Right.
But the other side of the quadrant says, become a business owner. Whoa, become a business owner. What does that mean? Well, that means go do something different. What is that? Go run a business.
Mm.
And then the other quadrant says, become an investor.
Absolutely.
So when you sit down and take a look at what the options are, trade hours for dollars as an employee, or become self-employed, go kill something to eat, hunt and kill mentality, or go become a business owner. And a business owner is someone that actually engages others in bringing them into their idea. Right? Think about all the companies that exist today. They all were at one point an idea, and that person took that idea and ran with it, and then went and recruited all these other people to come work for them. To help them promote their brands. Think about the clothing that we all wear. For goodness sake, I'm wearing a hat right now. It's a 47 genuine what? MLB. MLB is a brand.
The only thing that matters about the hat though is the D on the top.
Yeah. See, I'm going to be honest with you. I like the D because that's actually my middle name.
See?
Right? So that's what that's for. But the point is that people are representing other companies that they work for and their brand, they're promoting it. Why not become your own brand?
Absolutely.
Why not promote yourself or leverage a brand that will allow you to become your own brand? Instead of going to work for somebody else. And don't get it twisted. It's okay to work for somebody because guess what? The lights got to pay, the heat's got to get paid, mortgages got to be paid. Those are all necessary things. So work that job until you don't have to work that job.
Absolutely.
Because the job meaning is just over broke anyway. And so I'm not against jobs because I worked for a corporation for 15 years. And I absolutely enjoyed what I did for work. You know, I did it and I felt like I could do it for free. But I wouldn't do it for free. Because my wife wouldn't let me do it for free. But right now what we do, I mean, we absolutely enjoy it. But I will tell you, you know, on the subject of marriage and being entrepreneurs, entrepreneurship is not for the faint of heart.
Absolutely.
Right? Everybody that think they're froggy and they get out there and jump, they think they can do it. Man, it don't work like that. You literally have to take some time to learn some principles. I taught a class 2 weeks ago on business language. What's the business language? Accounting, finance, and economics. And when you really spend some time with those three subjects, it opens up a world of how business really works. And so you have to have some keen insight as to how the numbers work out. And if you don't understand the numbers, you're not going to understand the trends within your own business.
Right.
So, yeah, I could talk about a lot.
Well, Nikki said something that was key, and I'm just thinking about like the culture that we have today, and people bragging about, especially like hip hop culture. We're like, oh, we got it out the mud. And she said something that was so key. She said, we just don't ask for help. Like, we've been trained to not ask for help.
Big time.
I remember a young brother, actually his son goes to my school, so it's pretty interesting. He wanted to know how to do something. So I was like, well, you can pay somebody to do it, you can do it yourself. I was like, if you want me to pay you to do it because you're paying for my time, I'm going to tax you, so go figure out how to do it yourself. But instead of coming to me, he went to somebody else, and I was like, yo, this is what my price is if you want me to take my time, but I'm telling you can do it yourself. You don't need me. I'm only going to be the middleman if you feel like giving me your money. So instead, he went and found another middleman, and he paid maybe 4 times the price of what he actually needed through this other middleman. Then he came back and said, I should have just listened to you. And a lot of the time, he's like, but I figured it out. I'm like, but what's the cost that it costs you to figure it out? So a lot of times we think of price, and last episode we talked about price and value. And, you know, Jay-Z has a line. He said, we understand the price of everything, but the value of nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times we haven't been taught that it makes sense to invest in ourselves because the value of what you're getting is greater than the price. And a lot of us, we look at something, how much does it cost to work with you? And you say, oh, $125. I don't want to put that up because this and that. Even though Jordans or just McDonald's money or, whatever, PlayStation money, we'll spend it on frivolous things, but it's hard for us to see investing in ourselves because the return is based on us.
Go ahead, run with it.
That's like loaded.
It is loaded.
That is loaded with so much because when it comes to financial literacy, when it comes to financial education in our community, the short-term evaluation of value in speaking with a financial advisor or a financial professional is so overrated, or not overrated, but people are afraid of that short-term investment. With our company in particular, we don't even charge people a fee to sit with them and go through their finances and help them come up with a financial plan. But even in that case, putting that in front of them, people would rather have the short-term gratification of their Jordan money or McDonald's money than understanding that in 20 or 30 years from now, you see your grandma who's literally living on Social Security, where Social Security was not meant to be the main source of income for anybody in retirement. It literally says it on the Social Security statement.
That's a bar.
On the
that
statement.
it is not meant to be your main source of income, and because you're not willing at an earlier time in your life to just sit down and understand all the areas of finance. We're not just talking about budgeting, although that's definitely an area that we address because it starts with that, right? But you need to understand why having an emergency fund is important.
The pandemic proved that out.
Right?
You needed liquidity
How
on
many
hand.
people were drowning?
Imagine if the government never stepped in and sent checks out and unemployment wasn't there. How many people would have lost their homes?
But nobody wants to have these conversations. No, I don't want to say nobody. In particular, there's a fear in our community of having those particular kind of conversations. I'd like to know more about why that is. The psychology, I don't really understand it.
I
But,
can give you some psychology.
we see it all the time. But the value, people are not looking out for, they're only living for today.
Absolutely.
That's right.
So literally what happens, in another example, life insurance. My goodness. Life insurance is not just for death anymore. And so many people in our community are uneducated with that.
Absolutely.
When it comes to chronic and critical illness, it's the number one reason for poverty in our community.
Period.
Because
Contributor.
so many people are sick. We get sick
That's
at such
a bar,
high
y'all.
rates.
That's a bar.
High rates of diabetes, heart disease,
Cancer.
Yes. And
All plague the
nobody has
community.
anything to protect their income when you cannot work.
What you gonna do?
What are you going to do?
Wait for that Social Security
Poverty.
disability insurance. If
Exactly.
you can qualify
If you can
after
qualify.
3-4 times of applying. And then they send you,
GoFundMe isn't life insurance.
it sure
It's
isn't.
Social
I
Security.
hope y'all listening. GoFundMe is not insurance, okay?
It is not.
It's
not.
not. It's
I'm
Social-
at war.
It's Social
I'm at
Security.
war.
Right. We're at war with GoFundMe.
Your church's fish fry, all that is
Them
not
chicken
insurance.
dinners,
Not
man,
insurance.
that is not necessary.
And Social Security disability is not the source of income for somebody who has suffered a chronic or critical illness. So it's just a matter of really getting down in the community, almost like grassroots.
I mean, it is grassroots.
Yeah, it is grassroots.
It is
As much
grassroots.
as we hear, there's a lot of people in our community that I don't want to call them higher up that are talking about these ideas, but it just doesn't seem to be reaching people
rest
in the community.
Not resonating.
You know, it's
Or-
not resonating. I'm not sure.
Or you can have the flip side of that coin where you done got to this point in life where you making a comfortable 6 figures, mid 6 figures, about $400,000-500,000 a year, and you're thinking to yourself, okay, I got a financial guy. but you won't tell your friends and family about this person. You keep that one to yourself.
That's right. Y'all hear that? Don't be selfish.
You keep that to yourself.
That's why they here. Okay? Don't be selfish.
And that's a reality where if you keep that to yourself, how are you helping others to elevate?
Yeah.
Right? And so we're all about elevation and empowerment at the end of the day, and education. And so let's go back to that other point too, where you talked about value. You know, people don't invest in themselves because they don't value themselves enough. And it takes a self-evaluation to determine what you're worth. Unfortunately, I think too many people allow society to place a value on them. Here's an example. Minimum wage goes up to $15. Oh, I got $15 an hour now, y'all. Woo, I'm making it. For real? You allowed them to put $15 on you. That's your worth?
Right.
$20 an hour. That's your worth? Really? But we can go and watch people play sports. Right. We can go and buy tickets to concerts and pay obscene amounts of money. We can go buy jeans with labels on them. We can go buy shoes.
Ask them, how much you got in your emergency fund?
Oh, what's that?
What?
You know what's funny about that? I have this a chapter in my book that said I used to go to job interviews and they would ask me, how much do you think you're worth? And I'd be like, $100 an hour. And they'll be like, well, we only pay 10. I'd be like, well, I'll settle. Right? 90% value knocked off right in the interview.
I mean,
but
think about that.
That's what we're taught.
Right.
That's what we're taught. And that goes back to that employee mindset. I could think back to my first job. I mean, I'll be honest. So before I had my first job, I mean, there was other things that I did and I made money. But then I got a job. And they said, well, we're going to give you $4.75 an hour. And I said, I was 15. I was like, there's no way. I said, I need at least $5. I ain't starting at the level that everybody else started at. Right? I had to at least be 25 cents higher. But here's my point. When it was a point in my life when I had got into sales. As a field engineer, I had an introduction to a friend of mine where he introduced me to the Amway business. And I learned a lot in that business. I learned a substantial amount of sales. I developed sales skills and a whole bunch of things.
Yes, sir.
Just from that. But one of the things I learned is that I was undervaluing myself as an entrepreneur transitioning. I went into sales. I doubled my income. And I started seeing, hold on a second. I can speak and make money. My mouthpiece is my money piece. Not just because I'm trying to get the money, but I actually have something of value to share. Something that I'm bringing.
Absolutely.
So it's like in every conversation that I have with people now, it's about what value can I bring you. If I can't bring you any value, I'll tell you that. That's it. We're just going to have a really good conversation, right? And we're going to be friends at the end of the deal, right? And that's what we'll walk away with. And I'm happy to walk away with a good friendship. But at the end of the day, people undervalue themselves. Hence, they don't ask for enough money. If you know it takes $150,000 a year to run your household, why are you settling for $75,000?
Absolutely.
But you send your spouse out. Oh, your spouse don't get the job. Okay, then we got two incomes. And the lesson I learned, don't buy stuff on two incomes. Don't do that. Because guess what? One income can shift immediately.
Absolutely.
It's called transition in life. It's called having children. All right?
And everything that he's saying, by the way, is the thing that you pay your financial advisor to look out for you. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead, Henry.
Honestly, it's so I'm so not intrigued, but it's so just like they make it almost Twilight Zone. There's certain things that we're not like. I'm thinking about me. Okay, I'm thinking about like I heard about attorneys in the sense of like, yo, if you get jammed up in court or if you're living in the streets, you gotta get an attorney. But no one ever told me anything about, well, how about an attorney for like your copyrights or trademarks, or if you want to get into some real estate, or if you want anything entrepreneur related. Like it was never taught to me. So I'm just thinking about the example you gave, a financial advisor. Well, you know, most of the people I come across, not only do we not know what it is, but we also, because we've never been taught, like the concept is like scary. It's a scary concept because it forces us, like what you said, it self-evaluation, and that's a tough thing for most people because we got to look at the lifestyle we're living. And then now we're responsible for ourselves and accountable for ourselves.
In
and
every
that's
decision
scary.
you make.
That's scary.
And to be told, and to have it reflected back on you that maybe you're not living within your means. Maybe you're placing the importance
on stuff,
and priorities on things that you shouldn't be. To have all of that reflected back to you is like, wait a minute, you know, it's a pride thing. Absolutely, you know, and some other factors with how people are raised and environments,
how you grow up,
things like that, you know, too.
And that influences.
That all has an influence, but just overall, people just really think about it as a doctor. I'm not going to try to reset my arm if I break it.
Right. Absolutely.
If it's broken, I need a doctor to reset
I
it. You might. If every month, at the end of the month, if I consistently don't have enough money, or I am always having to do payday loans, or my financial situation.
That's the financial people that's in the community.
Right.
Absolutely.
You know, oh yeah, we ready to give you some more debt. You know, we're not going to teach you how to go make more money, but we'll teach you that you can pay ridiculous interest.
Absolutely.
If I'm always having to do this, I need help. I need assistance. I need guidance. I need direction.
I think part of it, though, in our community is that we don't value education. And a financial advisor is an educator.
Yes.
So I think that if we put more emphasis on just getting education, then maybe we could open ourselves up to financial advice. Like if we just spent more time learning to read, then maybe we could understand the concept of putting more time into having somebody help us with our finances. Because, like you said, I'm not going to go, you know, take out my own cavity or put my own cavity, whatever it is, something wrong with my teeth. I'm going to go see a dentist.
Right.
Something's wrong with my financial situation. I need to go see a financial advisor.
Get some help.
I need some help.
And
I need the education that comes with that. And not valuing education, I think, also hurts us in our community. If we start to value education as a people, then I think we will value the education of how to manage money or how money works, for that matter.
And not just enough education to get by either, right? So some of us are used to just getting just enough,
getting C's,
to get what we need done. Or I'm just going. How many times have you needed something fixed and you like, I ain't gonna pay somebody. I'm just gonna YouTube it and figure out how to do it myself. You know, there are just certain things. Here's a perfect example. I'm gonna share this. You know, say you want to redo a bathroom in your house. Like we just had a whole experience with this last year, and the TV shows, the home shows, they make it look super easy.
Yep, they cut out all the time. They say the before and after.
Right. So if you're watching this show, if you're constantly, but you're like, man, I know I can do all that.
Forget about it. Call somebody, Call somebody. I'll be honest. Call somebody. I'll be honest. It was me. I said, I'm going to have this bathroom done. It's going to be beautiful. Man, like $5,000, $6,000 later.
Right.
Call somebody.
It's so crazy to me because, okay, I don't know you guys are going to love it. You're gonna run this. You're going to run with this. You're going to love it, right? My understanding of a biblical principle is completely different now based on what you're saying. Before, there's the story, I don't know the actual scripture, but I know it's in the Bible. The story like the talents, right?
Yeah.
The man is given, three people are given talents, right? One buries it, one takes it, one grows it, one multiplies it. We don't look at, I don't know what book it is, maybe The Secret or The Science of Getting Rich or one of these books. In that book, they said, becoming wealthy is your obligation because you're manifesting what God gave you to the highest degree, right? Like, you should always be chasing your highest degree of potential. And if you become the best at what you do, wealth is just a side effect that's going to come along with it.
So that's in the science of getting rich.
That's in the science of getting rich. So, okay, so with that concept, it's like the people who get the talents. Like, what are you doing with the talents that God gave you? And most of the time, we don't see that, you have this talent that it can grow. It's like any other seed. It can grow, but, like, are you going to grow it? Like, what are you going to do with it? And for me, I know, just looking at where my life is now, where my life was at prior, I was the type of person that, like, if I had the cavity, I'm like, well, it's just one cavity. You know, right? Or it's like, because it's just, it almost seems like it's it almost seemed like it's impossible to reach. Like we have this idea that like he did it, but he's special. Like, oh, when he talks, he's so eloquent, or he's so good at it, and he has this skill set. But like I heard Will Smith say that he talked about controlled failure. When you go to the gym, you shoot 100 shots because it's controlled failure. You're failing every time it misses, but once you start getting a rhythm and it starts going in, you're learning how to be successful. And we don't understand that. Like I use Francisco for example. The Francisco today is a billion times better than the Francisco when you first started. He should be, because the repetition makes you get better. It improves your skill set. And so we don't understand that. Yo, you gotta start somewhere. And most of us are so scared to just start. If we would just start. And you said a meeting is free. Y'all meet with people for free. Like, okay, it's going to cost you time, maybe some gas,
or Zoom.
Right. You're at home. It's so to me, it's so mind-boggling.
Preparing your material just to make sure we got all the details.
Simple, very easy. It's not super difficult. In 2022, building wealth or financially securing your family is not as difficult as it was, say, 30 or 40 years ago. Like, there's so many advantages that we have, and it's insane to me when you get that example. Like, yo, call somebody. Like, we even called the Ghostbusters. You didn't see, nobody said, yo, we got the Stay Punk Marshmallow Man. Yo, we gonna try to, the police wasn't outside, we gonna handle this ourselves. We outside shooting with our little blocks. No, call the Ghostbusters, right? We even called the Ghostbusters, but we won't call someone to handle our money. That concept is so insane to me. Oh, can you mention something else too, though? Life insurance. Can you please touch on the importance of life insurance? Because the GoFundMes, the fish fries, that's a real thing in our community. The T-shirts with the faces on it.
Yeah.
You want to run that? You want to jump on that?
I'm just that one is such a passion. I don't want to call it a project for us, but it is a very sore spot for what we see happening in our community and in our families.
Absolutely.
People can literally experience a tragedy in their family and still not be willing
to do something
about it for themselves.
Big time.
All the time we see this. So it's just, and understanding why your financial professional helps you. You can't get life insurance once you're sick.
One.
You cannot get life insurance if you're unhealthy.
Two.
And if you do, it's going to be so expensive. So the best time to get it
when you're young.
is when you're young and healthy. You're going to pay less for a whole lot more.
Exactly.
And there's different types of life insurance.
Literally different types. Can I jump on that for 2 seconds?
Please.
Just for 2 seconds. One is called a term insurance policy.
Okay.
That's what I call DOT, die on time, right? 10, 15, 20 years, or even 30. And then the other one is what we call permanent. Now, I like to be clear with this. There's 4 types of permanent insurance. Too many times we hear the one, I got a whole life. I got whole life insurance. I'm covered, baby. I'm good. Listen, first off, permanent insurance is built on the premise of cash value. So yes, you can have it. You have a death benefit first, but on the backside of what you paid in premiums, you also have something called cash value. And this is where I think our community gets twisted up. So they think to themselves, well, I can buy this term and it costs me less. That's fine, because I'll offer you term. It serves a purpose.
Right.
But on the front side, on the other side, that cash value is going to serve you long term. Okay, so I may have you pay a higher premium today, but a portion of that premium is going to create some cash.
Right.
While simultaneously taking advantage of some of the interest gains. And so if we look at what the market has been doing over the last 8-9 months, for goodness sake, the S&P is down some 25%. Dow Jones is down some 30+%. NASDAQ is in the same boat. So at the end of the day, you got these down numbers. Well, how is that affecting you with your 401k plans or your IRAs or your Roth IRAs?
Wait a minute. Why are you talking about all that? What that got to do with life insurance?
Oh, that's got everything to do with life insurance. So flip that around. So all of these are financial products that most people just don't understand, but they think they know about it. Coming back to the life insurance, when you understand that you got permanent coverage, you're going to get the cash value. And then also you're going to get the benefit of being able to retire. Using that money in retirement, you're going to get the tax benefits. So here's the point. if you want to know more about life insurance, you got to sit down with somebody to have them explain it in detail. So that's where the education comes in.
Right.
Because without the life insurance, you still keep in mind. So let's say you pass away, Henry, right? Or Keishana, you pass away. You both have two daughters. You got kids in the house. You have a certain lifestyle that y'all like to live, right? Now, one of y'all passes, half that income goes, don't it?
Absolutely. Just like that.
So now, what are you going to replace it with? You still need to pay the mortgage. Still got to pay utilities. Still got to put groceries on the table, right? You still got to buy shoes. Still got to pay for school.
Right.
But no life insurance, you can't pay for none of that.
And even again, like we were saying earlier, what if one of y'all becomes critically ill?
Oh, that's why you're living.
That's another reason your income could be gone.
Right.
And that's why you're living.
Or it could simply
even
be
if
a car
you don't
accident that
pass
took you out the
away,
game.
Right. So how do you replace that income just in case? And it's more likely that you're going to get sick than pass away, right? Or get sick before you pass away. So just having something in place to protect the most valuable asset to your family, which is yourself and your income to your family. Because without that, how does that affect your family immediately?
So I just wanted to bear witness to what Francisco just said, because now Francisco can tell you we've known each other for a while, and he's been able to watch us like grow financially. And one thing from being educated and understanding value, one thing I learned from Francisco was that, between me and my wife, no matter what was going on in our household, the insurance got paid. So the insurance for us was moved to the front over like other things. If another bill didn't get paid, like I might come back and I might miss the gas bill, but the insurance got paid. And it's because of understanding proper education. It's, if I pay this gas bill but don't pay the insurance, but something happens to me, my family's in a worse condition than if I didn't pay the gas bill, but I paid the insurance. And so it's what means the most to you. You get that balance. And so for us, even when we were like, just very little money, our insurance always got paid. Our insurance, we don't lapse on the insurance because you got to understand taking care of your family in the different degrees and the different levels. And because I've seen so much in our community, like we worship death. Like we have rap songs about it, we have movies about it, TV shows, like our young people, like we have a culture of, like think about hip hop. In hip hop, we say this music is conscious. Well, if one music's conscious, and conscious means to be awoke, well then the music that's not conscious, if you're not woke, you're asleep. And if you're asleep, sleep's the cousin of death. We literally have a culture of death that we like celebrate. And so with so much death around us, the smartest and wisest thing to do would be the basic level of life insurance. Just make sure you have it. Make sure you take care of your family. Like as a man or as a woman, if you love your family, secure your family now for the future. One thing I can tell y'all, this is a spoiler alert. I don't know if y'all know this or not, but listen, nobody makes it out of the movie Life Alive. It is a spoiler alert, but nobody's going to make it out of the movie Life Alive. So hopefully you live as long as you can, but do the things that it takes. And hey, if you're getting insurance now, like you may say, for term insurance, somebody may say, well, if I get 20 years and it expires in 20 years. Well, listen, during those 20 years, don't just sit back and be like, got insurance. No. During those 20 years,
there's other things to do.
Work, invest, all the things you talked about. Yes. Don't stay on the employee side, the self-employed side. Go to the business side. Go to the investor side. Don't just sit around and let life happen without you affecting your life. And too many of us, life is happening and we're not trying to stay pace. Forget inflation. We're not trying to stay in pace with life in general. So for us, we've always kept to the idea that, listen, life insurance got to get paid first. That's one of the most important bills that you're going to have, because it's not just a bill, it's an investment.
It's a necessary expense.
It's absolutely necessary.
Just as important as your gas bill.
Absolutely. Like when you get in a car, you don't know I was waiting at a light. I had our truck and I was waiting at the light and I did everything I was supposed to do, right? Everything I did right. I waited at the red light. I didn't speed. I got there on time. Then waiting in the red light. Car zips through the light. Other car goes to turn. Car hits the car. Car flips in the air. Lands on top of my truck and crushes it. I did everything I was supposed to do. But you can't predict when anything in life is going to happen.
That's
so
right.
Since you can't predict it, plan for it as though it's going to happen.
Right.
And if it doesn't happen, beautiful. Every day above ground is better than any day below. It's always a blessing. But if that day comes, try to do the best you can for your family. So I love that piece that you just talked about with life insurance, because too many of us don't understand. And cash value life insurance?
Don't worry.
We don't understand that concept.
And you know, take that and run with it for 2 seconds with cash value. We got folks right now. So we got inflation. You know, we talked about that. You got a recession, slowdown in the economy. But guess what? You got a mortgage meltdown. Most people aren't even paying attention to that. And that's something that's on the horizon just the same.
Absolutely.
So it's going to be bad for some people, but it can be good for others. Did you know that from the cash value that you have in your insurance policy, you could actually borrow that and turn around and go buy an investment, depending on the amount you have in that policy. And then once you profit, you turn around and put the money back that you borrowed out of it. Just return it.
So you become your own bank.
There you go. See?
Now we're talking. Now we're talking.
And so now you've established your seed capital. So in business, we oftentimes talk about, well, you need a certain amount to get started. Well, where does that capital come from? Generally, it comes from a bank after you've sat down with them, showed them your business plan, and they got to oogle over it and be like, oh, that looks great. And then they ask you questions about, why do you think you can run this? You know, what experiences do you have? Now you have to explain yourself.
Right.
You know, what what tools do you bring to the table? But if you got money sitting in your policy and it's to the tune of $200,000, $300,000, and all you need is 50 for seed capital to get started, just grab that 50 out.
You said something the other day on this point that lets me, can you just talk about this for a second? It's such a bar, y'all. You said bank where the banks bank.
Oh, absolutely. Banks where the banks bank. You would think that the banks are investing all their money in the markets, but here's a what did you call that? You said, you know, spoiler alert. Here's a spoiler alert. Banks ain't always banking in the market. They're banking with the insurance companies.
Can you talk about that, please? That's so underrated. Like, it's
well, so first off, there's tools that I can share with everybody that would give you that deeper insight. I'll give you just one example. Bank of America. Bank of America was formerly part of a company called Transamerica.
Yes, sir.
And so during the separation years ago, when they separated banks and the insurance industries, Bank of America went its own separate direction. Transamerica stayed as it is, insurance company. But then subsequently, because Bank of America understood how insurance works, that's why they have over $24 billion of bank-owned life insurance on their balance sheets.
Wow.
$24 billion. And there's resources that you can access to see that's available, that's public. And that changed my thinking. So there's a book out there called Money, Wealth, and Life Insurance. I highly recommend that people get the book, read the book by Jake Thompson. And then there's another book called The Power of Zero.
By David McKnight.
There you go, by David McKnight. And so there's a number of books that we can drop hints on, read the books. Because if you want to know what we know, read the books that we talk about. Because it's often been said that if you want to hide something from somebody, where do you put it?
Put it in a book.
Put it in a book, right? Because people don't want to read. As you said in your example earlier, you know, persons want you to tell them things.
Right.
I'm going to tell you to go research it. And if you become a client of mine or you'd like to become a client of mine, I'm going to tell you, read these books first and then let's get together afterwards.
Absolutely.
Right? Because I want you to be educated and I want that conversation to be fluid. And I want you to know why you're sitting down to talk to me. Right? Because if you don't know why, I don't know why either. Right?
Absolutely.
And so we're left there trying to figure some things out. No doubt we have tools to help figure that stuff out. Then we can point you in the right direction. But at the end of the day, we need to help you to get educated. You know, it's been said that our communities from a generational standpoint are way behind financially.
Absolutely.
More so because of the lack of financial education. And believe it or not, life insurance is that one tool that has propped up so many other cultures. And allowed them to fast forward and be in a good place financially.
In fact, we hear this term so loosely thrown out there a lot, generational wealth.
Absolutely.
Right? That is perpetuated through assets, and life insurance is an asset.
It's an asset.
Is passed on to your family. So,
trust fund babies.
Trust fund babies. Right. Your plan has to have a basis of a huge amount of money. So let's take the term insurance, for example, that if something happened, immediately your family has this generational start.
If that policy was at $2
And
million.
in fact, it's called, well, in our community, we don't hear this, but it's called an inheritance.
Oh,
So
that's right.
When you hear people and they're like, oh, grandpa died and we got this
Inheritance.
Right.
And we need to know what to do with it.
Where do you think that came from? You know,
We inherit old phone bills and bad credit.
Debt. That's the thing that's passed along in the
Man.
community.
Right.
It's debt.
And
You know,
so now
struggles.
this young family that just received this inheritance through this generational wealth planning can go buy a home or start a business
Absolutely.
or do whatever they want to do with it because
They've received it.
the people ahead of them thought enough to plan, or not thought, they had a financial advisor. Most
I
likely.
want to add this in because we're getting ready to close out. But to bear witness to your point, the statistic says, I'm not sure where I read it at, but you probably can Google it. It says that the black community by 2053 is expected to have a $0 median income.
Wow.
There's another statistic that says in 1965 there was more black wealth than there is today.
Wow. Wow. So we gotta stop moving backwards.
Mm.
But to close out,
That goes
Right.
to that point though that you made in the last podcast where the grandfather rode a horse, the father drove.
no, he didn't ride a horse. The grandfather walked to work.
Oh, the grandfather.
He didn't have a horse. He walked to work.
But like if that's the case, like we're experiencing exactly what you talked about. Like somebody worked hard, and at a certain point we had this massive wealth in our community, and then it got easy for us, and now we got lazy, and now
Think about it. Civil rights. I mean, so many things have happened over
Absolutely.
the years to make things easier, but people are not buying life insurance the way they used to. And don't get it twisted either, because the life insurance industry had not been nice to black folks, to be honest with
This is
you.
true.
It has not. I mean, historically, the industry, there was redlining in the insurance industry similar to that of the real estate industry.
Absolutely.
And so let's go back and look at the history of all of it. And so we tend to shy away from things where we felt like we got some hurt and some pain. And so it's kind of like, I'm not going down that path no more. My mother got burned or my grandmama got burned. You get all these stories. But today we just want to make it known that, hey, let's not use those stories to move forward with move forward with the futures, right? Because if we got kids, we got families, we got people to look after us that depend on us, and if we don't have $1 million sitting in the bank, it's absolutely necessary to have $1 million in an insurance policy.
Absolutely.
I mean, for pennies, you can sign some paperwork, and now you got a policy that can help your family to help that generation in the event that something does happen to you. That's it.
Was it you that was telling us that all of the violence in our communities, not just in Chicago, but across our communities, what if all of these young men had life insurance policies?
That's my thing right there. If we can get all these young brothers insurance coverage,
get insurance on them.
I promise you, what'll happen is
The
that
communities will be.
You're gonna find a solution.
that's exactly it. The municipalities will have to work with them insurance companies.
Called money moves policy.
That's what I call it. Without becoming political.
That's the key. Every black family, brothers,
I mean,
go out
seriously.
here and get yourself about $500,000 because you're young,
Right.
you're healthy. Otherwise,
That's right.
and if you about 18, 19 years old, you probably ain't got no felonies.
Well, take it a step
you probably
further.
just get insurance. Just
Take it a step further. Every baby that come out the womb, get them an insurance policy.
Absolutely.
What?
Every baby that come out the womb, get them an insurance policy.
Absolutely.
Man,
That's called $1 million baby program that can be done.
what? Talk about the decrease in the mortality rate of black women giving birth. If every single one of them had insurance before they went in to give birth.
Before they went in to give birth.
How many of our sisters would survive a natural life of giving birth
Period.
if every 1,000 of us, $100 million?
If it's hitting somebody's pockets and somebody's been affected, they're going to make some changes.
Make sure black women
all of a sudden,
not
politics,
dying when
all
they
of a
give birth.
sudden, and the leaders in your community.
Black men are protected.
Uh-huh.
Officers are thinking twice before they pull that
You know what I'm
trigger.
saying?
So, all right, to close out, I wanted to hit this point because I think this is a great way to close this point out. And it's such a beautiful example here. All right. And Francisco, I'm going to ask you in particular.
Okay.
And then the ladies will answer. But I've noticed something in this episode.
What's up?
It seems like, and you can explain this, it seems like that a strong entrepreneur such as yourself you have a great support system in your wife.
Gosh.
Could you just talk, please? Because I gotta make sure that the women understand and that the young brothers understand the value of having a good woman in your corner.
You know, I thought about this earlier tonight, even before you asked this conversation, asked the question. I was thinking about when you're unevenly yoked. You know, it's important to be able to choose the right person to be with.
Absolutely.
Because that person's got to be with you, moving with you. And there's a million things that we do that I could not do if Nikki didn't, if Nikki wasn't with me. Being able to run and start out in this business, I mean, I wrote a lease without her. You know, then I went back and said, I wrote this lease, and she said, what? And so now I'm obligated for leases and a whole bunch of stuff. And there's no way I could be in business. I mean, I know I'm good at quite a few things, but my wife is everything that I'm not. So literally every weakness that I have, she is the strength. And so she has literally got me covered in so many ways. And so at the end of it, I couldn't do what I'm doing without her. You know?
She got your 6.
It's not just beautiful.
Sis.
It's a principle that I want more of our young people to understand.
Absolutely.
That you know, brothers, get you a good woman. So ladies, can y'all close us out then? Because hearing from y'all to close us out, I think that just, you know, what y'all do in the background, what y'all do in the forefront, how you allow us to be great, I think is a beautiful way to close out.
Go ahead.
I would just say that, and I recently realized this, is that when your partner has a vision, they have a big vision to actually bring something to life, you need to learn more about it so that y'all can come together on the vision. You know, you don't want it to be one-sided, because if it's one-sided, it's hard to support it. But you have to bring that vision together. And then when you do that, like Francisco is a visionary. I love that about him. So it's easy for me to, when he's having these visions, you know, I might have to say, okay, slow down a minute. Let's talk about how we're going to implement what it is that he sees. But for the most part, I'm like, all right, well, what we got to do to make it happen? You know, so just be willing to support the efforts of the vision that they have. And that's really all I can think about right now. It's a million things, but I
Absolutely.
I love it. I love it.
What comes to mind for me is I think that as women, we bring balance to our husband, or I guess in some cases your significant other or your spouse. And I think that that's what's important, is bringing balance to their visions and to, like, somebody, I forgot, one of our teachers just recently told me, she's like, I don't know how you go home with Henry every night. She's like, he's a lot to deal with. And I was like, well, I'm not the complete opposite, but what you see in him, like, I'm just the complete opposite of that. I don't know another way to put that. And so there's balance in that. Where, like, he's like, we're on 10, we're excited,
Fast, go hard,
right? And I'm just like, well, let's sit back and really pontificate on exactly how we're going to make that happen. And then, you know, next time in the future, how about, you know, we write our thoughts down and then we'll share it with the world. Like, just, I think that it's important as women that you bring balance into your household, because as Francisco said, Henry has strengths where I have weakness, and he has weaknesses where I have strengths. So what comes to mind for me is just, as a woman, it's important to me to keep my husband balanced and level, because he does bring a lot to the table. Man, he brings a lot to the table.
This is true. This is all true.
I think it just kind of just goes out. I mean, that's the key right there. I mean, that's going back to that yoking, right? So if you're a bull and you got a mule, you're dragging that mule, right? Somebody's really uncomfortable in that situation, so you both got to be bulls in terms of being balanced and being able to move with each other so you can make it work. And I agree, you got to be able to go in that same direction, because unfortunately, in relationships, you know, you start off this way, going the same direction, we good, we happy, and all of that, but then there's this thing called change, right? And you both change at some point, and it's like, you're changed, you're different, why don't you go do you, and you do you, right? But that's not the way God put it together, right? And so at the end of the day, you got to come back and there's a complete. So once you get on the same page, it allows everything else to work itself out. Mm-hmm. And I say God too, because you got to keep God in that relationship.
Absolutely.
And so, for Nikki and I to be together for 28 years, that's huge for us. That's huge. Because at the end of the day, there's no way that we'd be able to move in the same direction because we think very differently. Don't get it twisted. We think very differently.
Like what you said.
Right?
Yeah.
But it's that threefold cord that allows us to stay or at least come back and move in the same direction. So, a lot of prayer, a lot of supplication, a lot of petitions, prayers for each other, right?
Yes, sir.
And prayers with each other. So that's what it is.
Well, I hope you all have got something. Now listen, this is their first time, but hopefully it's not their last. We definitely want to bring them back. We have so much more to get into that we could not get into today. But I thank y'all for rocking with us today. It's the GPS Podcast. You want to close?
Where we take you on the road to success.
Close enough, y'all. Yeah.